Hey everybody, this is Nathan Lehman at the Ultra Running Company, and today we're going to be doing a shoe review of the Saucony Peregrine 10. So let's jump right in. I'm really excited to talk about the new Peregrine 10, primarily because the Saucony Peregrine is a trail shoe that we have not featured at the Ultra Running Company in the past. And there were some, what we think are some good reasons behind this. We always try and go for best-in-class shoes at the store, and when we try on a shoe that does not meet our running preferences, we tend to not bring it in. When we don't bring in a shoe, I don't have the opportunity to run in them more, and generally don't review shoes that we don't bring in. And so I'm really excited that for the first time, we have this shoe to talk about. So yeah, this is the most recent version of the Saucony Peregrine. The Saucony, using the Ultra Running Company's metrics, the Saucony Peregrine is a low drop, transitionally cushioned trail running shoe. So let's break that down and jump right in. First of all, this shoe is a low drop shoe, which means that it has somewhere between 3 and 6 millimeters of additional cushion here under the heel versus here under the forefoot. And so what that means is that you're slightly raised up in the back versus the front of the shoe. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's a thing that exists and is something that will help out with the preferences of trail runners. If they prefer something that's perfectly flat, this will have a little bit more cushion than they're used to. And if they prefer something with a high heel, this definitely isn't going to be in their wheelhouse. So basically, the Peregrine is advertised as having a stack height of 23 millimeters in the forefoot and 27 in the heel to make up that 4 millimeter drop. Now keep in mind, that's not between the very tip of your toes in the heel. It's right here under the base of your heel and right here kind of under your metatarsals where your foot kind of bends. That's where we're looking at. Most shoes are going to have a bit of a ramp up and have less cushion right underneath the toes. So that big toe can really push down, give you the traction and the control that you need, especially in a trail shoe, but really more for the speed in a road type shoe. So in a trail shoe, it's all about control. We measured this shoe as well, and we generally measure our shoes with the insole out. And for us, with the insole out, this shoe had 18 millimeters under the forefoot and 23 millimeters under the heel. Now you'll notice that's a little bit different than Saucony talks about. That 18 and 23 gives us a 5 millimeter drop. When we throw their insole into it, it's about a 4 millimeter insole, and so that brings us up to 22 millimeters in the front compared to their 23, and the same 27 in the heel. So we just find that there's a little bit more ramp to this than advertised. It could be the way we measured it. We measured it a number of times, but that's really going to be significant only for those of you with really calibrated feet. If you can tell the difference between 1 millimeter shoe, you're probably doing a little bit better than I am in really getting the feel for it. So we think this falls right in that low drop category. We like that because that allows the shoe, when you're coming through on your landing, you want to land under your body, and that lower drop gives you the ability to clear your heel as you come through and really land on that whole foot underneath your center of gravity. That's where you get control. It's important in road running, but especially important in trail running, where you need to have your weight coming down on the shoe so you get the most traction, the most control, and the most confidence really when you're running on uneven terrains. So what is the cushion in this particular shoe? Well, they've changed the names over the last year at Saucony, and now they're calling this cushion Power Run. What is that? It's really just a good cushion in their books. They also have Power Run Plus, which is their TPU, their compressed polyurethane sole. That is not this product. This product has a very thin layer just underneath the insole of their Power Run Plus, this TPU piece, but that's really more for the feel under the shoe. That's going to give you a little bit more bounce under your foot, give you the feeling of more cushion than there actually is. The sole in this is a more traditional rubber, and so it's going to feel like it has a little bit of give to it, topped off by that small TPU insert, what they used to call Everrun, their newest model. They've changed the name on that, but it really just remains a thin, bouncy layer. covering a more traditional rubber. Moving down to the bottom, again, looking at the branding of the shoe, this shoe has what's called Power Track on it. What Power Track is really just their stickier rubber. So this shoe is going to work well in the mud, in the rain, which brings us to one of the reasons we were not fans of the Peregrine in the past. So somewhat counterintuitively, this Peregrine, the 11, has slightly shorter lugs than the past Peregrines. In the past, the Peregrines had very deep, compactly positioned lugs on the bottom of their shoe. Now these lugs have been spread out a little bit. It's what's called the tread to void ratio of the shoe has actually gone up. So there's more void in this shoe than there has been in the past. What that means is in the past, with these very deep pointy pieces of rubber underneath, they'd stick into the mud, but then when you went to step off, that mud wouldn't evacuate. And so what you'd get stuck with was a lot of mud filling it in. After about 3 steps on the old Peregrine, we really found that we lacked the confidence to take steps going forward. So what do we have now? We have lugs that are spread out more. When you step into the mud, it gives you good traction, and then you step out of the way, the mud evacuates, and you've got good traction for that second step as you go down. What else do we have on the bottom? Well, we've got a couple things. First of all, we've got this newly what's called a decoupled heel. All that means is that they've taken one spot where traditionally there would be very hard rubber going across, and they've kind of made a little cut in it where the rubber from the midsole comes through. What that means is you can really squeeze this, get a little bit more movement. Specifically, if you land on the outside, you're not gonna move this inside piece. You're just gonna get more traction throughout, a little more pliability on the shoe. We think that's probably a good thing for this shoe. With a decent amount of cushion on it, you wanna have some movement between the two sides so that when you land, you're getting the optimal landing. On the rubber itself, they introduced this on the Mad River TR. If you want an explanation, please go to our review of the Mad River TR. For us in the Carolinas, in the Southeast, this is maybe a little bit overkill, but they've included on the Peregrine 10 spacers, markings basically where you can drill in icy conditions, where you can put in some metal spikes and drill so you can evacuate water should you feel the need to. We don't think either of those are something that's necessary for the Peregrine, but they've got them there and they're neat. Looking even deeper as you look into the shoe, you can see in these places right here, right through to a rock plate. That rock plate is reintroduced in the Peregrine 11. It was in earlier versions. It went away when it went out of vogue a little bit, and they've added it in for just a little bit more protection. This one looks like kind of a woven carbon fiber. It is not a carbon fiber plate. This remains somewhat flexible given the amount of rubber. And so what that does is it protects you from rocks, sticks, stones, roots, that sort of thing, but it's very flexible, so it's not going to get in the way or inhibit your ability to move around. Overall, the feel of this rubber is actually quite a bit more cushiony than we felt in the past with the Peregrines. We really felt like it would go up with some more of these maximally cushioned shoes very well for your longer runs, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles. The Peregrine remains a pretty darn good option, and with that kind of traction, you're going to find yourself kind of picking through rocks, picking through stones, and now picking through mud with a great deal of satisfaction. So really kudos to them for taking a product that's been around for a while, making a few changes on it, and making it a better shoe. Moving to the upper of this shoe, basically what we've got is a woven mesh with some overlays on it. Some folks have moved away from that. Some people are staying with it. In Saucony's case, basically the mesh allows it to breathe. The overlays give it the structure that it needs, and it's a very durable shoe. After having gone out for quite a few miles now on some very rugged terrain, have no noticeable damage to the outside of the shoe. It's something that I will consider wearing for many, many more miles. Some pieces of interest with this shoe. The second reason that we had not brought in the Peregrine in the past was I guess a scientific term would be a mushy heel feel. Basically, I could put my foot into the old Peregrine, lock it down, even if I'd use a lock lace, and we'll get into that in a second, but even if I use a lock lace to really lock my heel in, I really felt like there was a lot of movement. Made a really nice change with this heel cup, just to kind of optimize this feel here, and it really holds my heel in like a sporty athletic shoe needs to when you want to be confident on trails. So Again, good job to them. I guess you can pull your shoe on with this. It looks secure. I haven't lost it yet. But moving down, a couple of things that they've done. The tongue is now gusseted, so the tongue's not going to move around on you too much. In this case, that's probably good because they don't include a tab on the top. In some cases, we think those gussets are actually a little bit much. They just add more fabric, but it is a great way to keep the tongue in place. The tongue's nice and cushioned, no irritation at all on this tongue, and something that you can wear for many, many miles. Kind of going with Saucony's current trail philosophy of adding a bunch of stuff. They do have a Gator Lock here. They don't have anything to attach it on the back, and so you would need to put your own Velcro on the back or catch it on there, but they do give you a nice piece here. It doesn't weigh much. If you use it, it's indispensable. If you don't use it at all, you'll never notice it's on there. Second, they've got a little piece to hold your laces down. This again may be extraneous. If you want to use it, by all means, stuff your laces in there once you've tied your shoes, and you'll feel fantastic and be confident that they're not bouncing around. Otherwise, just tie your shoes and make sure they don't come undone. Last thing that they've done though, and this is almost a nod to the Mad River TR, they've actually put in, usually you're going to have this second eyelet right here. We almost always use this on our trail shoes to put in a lock lace where you go back in and create a little loop here and really lock down your heel. I think it's really important for trail shoes to have absolute confidence that the shoe's going to be right where you left it. In this case, they've actually got another one up here in front. Not exactly sure what that's for. If you have a narrower foot, you may use that to actually skip this first one, go out here. It might give you some additional flexibility, which is what they were trying to go with in the Mad River TR. In the Mad River TR, honestly, we thought it was a little bit much. In this shoe, it doesn't hurt if you want to experiment with different lacing. We think it's a really nice option to have there. So while I don't use that new eyelet, you may give it a shot. You may have a better result with it, and it doesn't deteriorate from the shoe at all. So as far as other items on the shoe goes for about 120 bucks, which is a pretty good spot to be for this for a shoe of this quality. It compares favorably to other more maximally cushioned shoes in the 130 range, but certainly sits in a good value point for a trail shoe at 120. One thing that it doesn't have going for it as something that jumps out at us is the weight. This is a pretty traditionally weighted shoe. Saucony has the weight of this shoe at 9.3 ounces for a women's 7. And 10.7 ounces for a men's 9. Now, as I always say, I'm not a 9, and most of the folks that we sell shoes to at the Ultra Running Company are also not 9s. We welcome those of you that are 9s to come in. We have your shoes, we appreciate you, but I wear a size 13, and those flippers weigh a lot more than your sample size. So in a size 13, this becomes a 12.7 ounce shoe. It's on the heavy end, but it's not something that really gets in the way. So I put this in my acceptable level. It's not as heavy as their Exodus or some of those shoes that are really kind of indestructible and designed to plow through things. This is still a shoe that you can pick through and navigate really technical terrain with. But some of these extra items, some of this really aggressive tread does add some weight. So just be aware of that as you go, and make sure that in a men's size 13, 12.7 ounces is acceptable to you. Other than that, we're excited about the shoe. We're excited to finally introduce it at the Ultra Running Company, and we're really excited that Saucony's taking some of their legacy products and really looking at what they can do better for those. So we think this bodes well for the future. Small changes that make a big difference for us. Trail shoes are a really competitive spot right now, and we're really pleased to have a Saucony that can be on our wall and be viewed favorably with brands like Salomon and Hoka and Ultra and Topo. So we think that's a good step forward. So we think you'll like it. We think you should give it a shot and compare it and put it on when you're trying on your trail shoes, and who knows, maybe you'll go home with it. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. We try and get back to them as quickly as we can. But as always, our first goal is to visit with folks in the store. So if it's a few days or even a week before we get back, we apologize for the delay and really do appreciate your comments. We'll try and hit every single one of them. In the meantime, please subscribe to our page. It does move us up a little bit and allows more people to see our reviews, and we appreciate being able to put out what we have. So thank you very much for tuning in today. We look forward to seeing you next Shoe Talk Thursday, but in the meantime, learn to love to run.